is an upcoming epic action fantasy film written and directed by Christopher Nolan, adapted from Homer's ancient Greek epic of the same name. The film stars Matt Damon, Tom Holland, Robert Pattinson, Lupita Nyong'o, Zendaya, and Charlize Theron among the ensemble cast, and steadfast hearts. But what should have been a triumphant return turns into a decade-long odyssey, a winding, perilous journey across the vast and unforgiving sea. This is the story of heroes and gods, monsters and temptations, loyalty and loss, a chronicle of one man's struggle to reunite with his beloved wife, Penelope, and reclaim his throne. This is the Odyssey. The aftermath of war. The winds of Troy have finally settled. The city lies in ruins. Odysseus, battle-scarred, thoughtful, and longing for home, boards a ship with his loyal crew. They set sail from the Trojan shores, hearts heavy with both relief and longing. But fate is not kind. Poseidon, the wrathful sea god whose son Polyphemus the Cyclops Odysseus once outwitted, in endless haze. Odysseus, the ever-watchful leader, drags his entranced men back to the ships. With strength of will and stern resolve, he orders the anchor raised and slips back into the unpredictable and stone. With guile and grit, Odysseus devises a daring plan. He intoxicates the Cyclops with potent wine and blinds a single eye with a sharpened stake. Under cover of darkness, he and his men cling to the bellies of Polyphemus's sheep, escaping the cave as the blinded giant bleats in agony. But Odysseus's pride proves costly. In a reckless moment, he reveals his name to the howling Polyphemus, who calls upon his divine father, Poseidon, to curse him. And so the sea god's wrath deepens. The siren song, sailing further under clouded skies, Odysseus hears whispers of the sirens, their voices irresistible, promising knowledge and delight beyond mortal imagination. Remembering the tales of old, Odysseus fills his crew's ears with beeswax and orders himself tied to the mast. As the sirens' voices echo over the waves, he listens, enthralled yet bound, until the perilous melody fades into the distance. The sea stretches before them once more, calm and waiting. Between Scylla and Charybdis, Odysseus now must navigate between two deadly forces, the monstrous six-headed Scylla and the swirling whirlpool Charybdis. There is no safe passage. There is only the lesser violence, a painful choice. 6 of his men are claimed by Scylla's ravenous heads. Odysseus watches, torn between duty and grief, as the sea summons them onward. The enchantress Circe. On the lush island of Circe, a powerful witch goddess, Odysseus's men fall victim to her sorcery, transformed into swine with a flick of her wand. But Odysseus, brave, clever, and resistant, resists her spells. With divine aid from Hermes, he forces Circe to reverse her magic. The enchantress, struck by his strength and spirit, becomes his ally, feeding his crew and offering counsel for the journey ahead. Here, they rest, brief respite before the storm. The struggle for home. While Odysseus battles the trials of sea and sorcery, far away in the kingdom of Ithaca, another struggle unfolds. At Odysseus's palace, Penelope, his faithful wife, fends off a growing crowd of suitors. They feast on his wealth, laugh in his halls, and demand her hand in marriage, convinced the king is lost forever. But Penelope remains loyal, weaving a shroud by day and unraveling it by night, buying time with guile and hope. Their son, Telemachus, young yet strong-willed, sets out in secret to find any news of his father, seeking old comrades, gathering rumors, and holding on to hope when hope seems all but lost. Returned to Ogygia and the Phaeacians, shipwrecked and alone, Odysseus finds himself on the distant isle of Ogygia, where the immortal nymph Calypso keeps him in lingering captivity. For years, he dreams of home. But immortality's promise holds a bitter edge, for even endless days lose meaning without loved ones. At last, with divine intervention from Athena, Odysseus is freed, and he sails for the land of the Phaeacians, recounting his long journey, each trial and tear, before they grant him passage to Ithaca. Disguise, strategy, and siege. Odysseus returns to Ithaca not as a king, but as a stranger in tattered cloak. He meets his loyal swineherd Eumaeus and reveals himself only to Telemachus. Together, they devise a strategy, cunning, patient, and deadly. Penelope, ever hesitant, proposes a contest. The suitor who can string Odysseus's great bow and shoot an arrow through 12 axe heads shall win her hand. One by one, the suitors fail. Then the disguised Odysseus steps forward. With a breath held by fate, he strings the bow and strikes true. With Telemachus and loyal servants at his side, he vanquishes the suitors. The halls echo with the clang of battle and the roar of victory. The king restored. At last, the weary king stands before Penelope, crowned not by ceremony, but by trials endured and love tested across years. Penelope, cautious yet certain, tests him one final time. And at her touch, Odysseus's heart, battered yet unbroken, whispers its truth. Together, they rebuild Ithaca, the scarred shores now home again. A legacy reborn. Thus ends the Odyssey, not merely a tale of a journey, but of enduring love, relentless courage, and the human spirit's unyielding quest for home. Christopher Nolan's cinematic adaptation, starring Matt Damon as Odysseus and Hathaway as Penelope and Tom Holland as Telemachus, brings this timeless myth to the silver screen with breathtaking visuals and unforgettable performances.